Good afternoon or good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing and a brand new installment of the Council of One's Babylon 5 review here live on the Ambassadorial Wing. And hope y'all are having a great week. Hope y'all are looking forward to a really eventful and hopefully relaxing weekend. And today we're doing another breakdown of season 5 of Babylon 5, and today we're covering the episode Secrets of the Soul. And with me, as always, I have got a portion of the Council of Ones. You know them, you love them, they're wacky, they're a bit crotchety, but we still love them anyway. Mountains of Elysium and Fiona Wolf. Our fellow
I'm more than
councilman,
a bit
it's
crotchety.
good to see you. No, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the old crotchety fuddy duddy down below you.
I do not trust anything postmodern. Sam, I am.
You're not. Okay. Your name is not Sam. You're not a dude. You're a chick.
No, just like the old green eggs and ham. Sam, I am, and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yes, we know Dr. Seuss. So,
yeah.
And to everybody that's lurking and active in the chat, it is good to see you. Hope y'all are having a great day. Archer Colin's good to see you, man. Appreciate you being here as always. Fiona, good grief, woman.
Yeah. Can you imagine if it had been a bot in that situation?
Oh my God. And to the bot, go find someone else to bother. Because here, we do one thing to bots. And you're not going to like it. But everybody else will get a laugh. Here, bots get spanked. Anyway, today, as I said, we are covering the episode Secrets of the Soul. So, my friends, my fellow council members, let's begin. Where y'all want to...
I don't know. There's a lot of unfortunate secrets of the soul in this episode. Franklin finds some. Lena finds some. Byron finds some.
Well, and they had a gallery watching.
Oh God, that's right. It's even more intrusive than Sheridan and Delenn ceremony. The telepaths could actually feel it. Oh no!
It was funny a woohoo.
I don't know if there was a woohoo, but there was. Okay, I'm just gonna say this.
Oh no! There was a oh no.
The fact that the telepaths actually. I'm just like, okay, this is creepy. This is very, very creepy and very, very wrong. I'm like, I know Babylon 5 sometimes gets a little goofy and silly when it comes to sexual topics, but this is going a little bit out there. I'm like, I know you all are kind of in each other's heads, but do you have to be in each other's heads right now? Seriously?
I actually give them a pass on it because when you go back to season 1, was it that Talia mentioned that when telepaths have sex, they reflect each other's souls and it builds an intensity. And Lita let go of all of stuff, even hidden from herself. And Byron has said they're able to detect thoughts from around the station. They have to put up the barriers. They both took down the barriers and broadcast it, just like when Garibaldi was trying to recruit them. They all heard him from coming down the hall. So the telepaths will hear them. And I'll give them a pass.
The unfortunate hidden memories of Lita Alexander tonight on Cosmic News Network.
Unfortunately, Elysium, to kind of do a little wordplay, they definitely heard each other coming.
Yes. Unintentional, but apt.
And greetings to the chat. I love food. Food, it is good to see you, bud. Appreciate you popping in. And at a very inopportune moment. And speaking of inopportune moments, here is another member of the council. You know him. You love him. He is wacky. He is, unfortunately, he popped in at the worst possible moment. Give a warm welcome, as always. Call him late, but never call him late for dinner. Lord Koj.
Thank you for that. Sorry for the timing, but like a wizard, I arrive exactly when I mean to.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think you arrived at the worst possible moment.
A series of unfortunate events requiring Miss Lita Alexander to put on everything on display. Oh no!
Oh, we jumped to that part. Okay, I'll catch up.
Well, we jumped into that part because this is the most humorous.
Oh man! But still, can you imagine what they would have done had Ivanova been in that situation? Oh no!
Well, here's Colin's thoughts on this. I still have a suspicion that in the original plan, it might have been Ivanova's telepathy activating, breaking as tomorrow. People, fans would say, Archer, that is entirely possible. But again, I can't necessarily see Ivanova trusting a telepath as much.
Well, yeah, because it took her 2 years to trust Talia that much.
Yep. Not to mention, she's still heartbroken over a certain dead ranger.
Yeah.
So
yeah, Ivanova's the type that when she does open up and she gets hurt again, she closes up harder. So I think if any chance with her and Byron, it would be probably 2 or 3 times the time it took for her to open up to Talia, and that was just as a friend or a sister. So I don't think that would have happened at all. Byron would still be down there saying kumbaya.
Not to mention, I think there might have been some jealousy over the hair because let's be honest, Ivanova had the better hair.
I don't know. Byron's trying to beat that.
No, Byron's hair is just limp and lifeless.
I don't know.
I just had a thought.
Go ahead, Fiona. Go ahead.
Byron kind of reminded me of Fabio hair at some point.
That's it. I forgot his name.
Yes.
Fabio. I was looking it up. He has that herbal essence look going on.
I'm just gonna say this. I think all the telepaths are just a little too clean and a little too well coiffed for people that are living in down below. Just saying. Like,
I wonder if the other workers are jealous.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they use some of their talents to keep the riffraff or the lowest common denominator off of them in down below. Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, they didn't do too good of a job this episode because one of their own gets the ear living crap kicked out of him. Of course, and they also go and kick the ever living crap out of the guilty party, make him think he was on fire.
Yeah.
One thing, he tried to stop the assault. He was trying to pull the guy off, saying, "Please stop it, stop it, stop it," but the guy wouldn't stop. So they actually did that to an innocent man and one who tried to help the telepath.
That's true. That's the tragedy of the ignorance.
Yep. Well, not to mention, not just a telepath, but a telekinetic. Because remember, the one that they attacked was the one that had the stutter that was actually a telekinetic.
That's true.
So, but this episode, you did like it says, it's dealing with secrets of the soul. Of course, we find out what the Vorlons did in greater detail. But not only that, we find out what the Hayek have been up to for the last several thousand years, and just how much it's come back to bite them in their own alien ass.
Yep, because apparently the genes of that other group were helping them survive. Oh my!
That's the one that kind of bothered me more than Byron stuff. Is like, well, any theme where there's like extreme prejudice towards another like group of people, we could all agree that all the aliens and humans, sentient beings, are people. So any kind of thing that especially leads to genocide, that's just awful. And I think that's like one of the greatest sins in like the universe or under God and everything. It's just counterproductive, and it proves so. And I like how Franklin at the end, he says it's not my place to forgive. That's for the dead, but or only the people that they killed can only forgive them. But too bad there's no one around to find that forgiveness. Or I thought that was kind of
Well,
that was a nice quote that I ruined. Sorry.
Although
No, you're
I
okay.
seem
You're
to
okay.
remember
Chris.
something mentioned that the telepaths technically could have made a homeworld out of the Markav homeworld since they're gone.
Yes, that's true.
So it's kind of like everybody kind of forgot about that. Even though Sheridan shut down one of the gates, that's probably not the only way to get to the Markav homeworld. That's probably just the main thoroughfare to get there.
Well, and if you think about it, it'd be ideal because if they want a place where they won't be really bothered and everything, that would be ideal because the main jump gate was destroyed by Sheridan. Remember when they were fighting that shadow vessel? They essentially blew up a hyperspace gateway. So,
and we don't know how far off the mark it is from the next one.
Yeah,
or how long a journey that would be.
I have a funny feeling that it's in the next episode, if Byron wasn't so much of a dick, they probably would have gotten, if not the Markup homeworld, certainly some other world, a moon or a station or something.
I agree, 100.
Because people were coming around to him, were willing to support him. Maybe not give him an entire planet, but certainly give him something. But he just turns into a complete dick.
Yeah.
So
well, considering what happened to one telepath in season 1, the girl, they could have joined the Minbari in an enclave. They could have.
If you think about it, yeah. There was a whole lot of options there. Elysium, you've got this comment in the private and everything. If you'd like to share it with everybody, I'm going to let you have the floor for a minute so you can. So,
okay, it was too long to post in the chat. It was
that's fine.
Mentioned it in the Lurker's Guide. He said, because we had in previous seasons the Centauri celebrate wiping out another species, Dazan. And he said, well, what's the difference? And JMS addressed it and saying the difference is that the Centauri mainline crashed with Dazan. When the Centauri clashed with Dazan, both were primitive and fighting for food, resources, that sort of thing, similar to our Neanderthal Cro-Magnon struggle. Whereas the Hayek did it when they were more advanced. It wasn't a struggle. It was a program of extermination. And there is a big difference. And just as we were mentioning earlier, you can see the seeds of a genocide and how the Lurker attacked the telepath. It wasn't out of hate. It was out of fear and jealousy. And something like that can build into an actual animosity in a program. When someone fears a person, then fears a group, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah, it is, and it's interesting how this episode, the two main storylines, or the two storylines, parallel each other. Because if you look at what the Hayek did to the Hayek Doe, and if you look at what humanity has done to telepaths, there are a lot of similarities. And that's the truly chilling thing about this. The fact that one race is completely and utterly destroyed and limits them, but another race is more mistrustful or distrustful, and the other group is marginalized and shoved into a big black box known as the Psy-Corps. And the fact that it was us, norms, mundanes, whatever you want to call us, that forced the creation of the Psy-Corps in the first place. And then, of course, we find out the really big clincher, although we already kind of knew this, but nobody else did, that the Vorlons genetically engineered the creation of telepaths. And why? For the Shadow War, essentially. And for Byron, this is a huge... He's like, we could have had normal lives. We could have lived as just normal people. We wouldn't have been cursed with this, essentially. And we would have never had to deal with this whole crap of the Psy-Corps in the first place. But because of what the Vorlons did,
Well,
That
kind of
isn't
like
the
that.
case.
Kind of like that River of Souls movie. They would have evolved eventually to deal with telepathic abilities, but as a functioning, unit rather than a little bit at a time. The Vorlons made it happen too early, essentially. And that can screw up things, even if they wanted to use people as tools in their wars and everything. It's like, ooh boy, they did make many mistakes.
Yeah, probably a lot. They've been around for a while.
It's kind of like giving a child a car before he knows how to drive, in some ways, by elevating younger races before they have the responsibility in using that power.
That's true. It's like there's a lot of maturity that comes with the powers and responsibility and stuff.
Well,
It's like
to
a
quote a
lesson.
franchise to quote a franchise we're all familiar with and some of us are fans of. As a wise man or a woman once said, with great power comes with great responsibility. And unfortunately, we at the point where we are evolved in the B5 universe, we were nowhere near ready to deal with the concept of having people that could read our thoughts, read our minds, control our thoughts, and so on. I mean, if you look at one of my all-time favorite comic book franchises from Marvel, X-Men, this is a common theme. I mean, essentially, telepaths are mutated humans on genetic level. It's not much different from what is discussed and done in the X-Men universe, what is done here in the B5 universe with telepaths and telekinetics. The only difference is in Marvel universe, the X-Men universe in particular, you don't have a organization that's corrupt and, well, let's be just very candid here, borderline evil and fanatic that tells telepaths either join us, you have to be put on drugs. So, am I coming through clear, guys? Or is
there's a little bit of roboting, but I got most of it.
Yeah, you were clear. Sorry. Just a little bit. Like a filter.
Okay.
But we heard you.
Okay. Sorry about that.
But I imagine even in the Minbari's history, they probably initially used telepaths as a bit of a weapon, but eventually evolved past it, at least from what their modern take is on it now, seeing how the telepaths are there to serve and help people.
Yeah, it's like a community service or something.
Yep. And they're taken care of because if you remember correctly, the human girl, I'm trying to remember her name, but
Alyssa Belvin.
There we go. She was like saying, "Wait, how do you get food and clothing?" And Delen's like, "That it's donated to them," and this is like a revelation to her. It's like, what?
They just give you stuff. I don't have to steal it.
It's like, what?
But it's true. Even a lot of stuff. I'm gonna go back to my family's motherland in Sri Lanka. Like a lot of the priests there or monks, everything is donation only. Like they don't make funds any other way. And people are given what they need and to do their service, and for them that's like it's very much like Marcus. He just needs what he needs, not a lot, to get stuff done. So I imagine Minbar, it's not a trap, but it's a I think they've gotten it around to where it's not malicious, it seems, because even in Centauri they have they're treated as seers, and I think it is like a job and a place in the high court. So I think in Centauri, when you're a telepath, you're just kind of hired to work for whatever house. So they kind of have a similar thing, but that has a paycheck.
Yeah, but they probably do their own kind of like maneuvering and stuff, because you could see that when they use the Centauri telepath to unlock Brother Edward's memories.
Right. And then the ladies with the shrouds over their eyes that follow the emperor.
Yep.
Yeah,
This episode just brings it home that there was other options on the table, but they weren't able to see it at the time because everybody was reacting like a gut reaction. Even Franklin had a gut reaction to the Hayek. Where it's like, a lot of the current Hayek didn't do anything to the previous, sister species, but the actions of their ancestors did have consequences.
Well, and it with Franklin's what he says to the Hayek ambassador. He's like, "It's not my place to forgive. I cannot speak for the dead." He's like, "You're asking for absolution. I can't give it because it's not my place to give it." He's like, "Y'all are just gonna have to learn to live with it." Yeah, the funny thing is, Franklin could have very well said, "Screw off! You all made your bed. Now you're gonna have to sleep in it." But he's like, "No, we will do everything."
You're gonna have to open it up. Yeah, they're gonna have to open it up to the whole entire alliance and have everybody helping them research. Because it's not just enough for Franklin to do it. He has other stuff he has to do.
Mm-hmm.
So they have to basically lay bare their soul, essentially.
Yeah. And, talking about Franklin having a lot of stuff to do, that includes dodging projectile Pak'ma'ra vomit. Because, they give him that, they give the Pak'ma'ra that barium mixture to track their. And I feel. Go ahead, Elysium.
I was about to say that reminded, like, it's like a morning after in a college town.
Oh, yeah, that green sludge all over that window. Oh man, I feel bad for the lab tech that was in there.
I do too. That's like my work.
Yeah, because I remember you work in a hospital, Koj. I will say this: the Pak'ma'ra, and Franklin says it himself. He's like, even the Pak'ma'ra are being extremely cooperative, whereas you would not think they would be. But a lot of the alien races thus far, except with the exception of the Hayek, have been very open about this because I think a lot of them see the benefit of having this registry, of having this database, so that if something ever comes up, there's a means to combat whatever virus or infection. I would imagine that database will even come in handy. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here, and if I am wrong and anything, I'll be more than happy to retract. That database is going to come in handy when they're dealing with the Drog plague.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that, and also they all remember what happened to the Markav and everything, to where it's like, wow, the Pak'ma'ra cells were the clue to that plague. Because it shared a similar line. So if other stuff pops up in the future, they'll be happy to have like a way out. Like if there's like some sort of cell match with another race or species altogether.
Also, on top of that, this is like the 5th year of Dr. Franklin on the station, and without everything that's gone down, he's proven himself to the people who are more long-term residents there, especially the ambassadors, of how well he works and gets stuff done and helps all these aliens. So I feel that a lot of them are like, wow, he is someone we can trust and has done a lot of good stuff for the communities. So I think he's earned that, and I think he's just shocked because it's kind of shocked when good things happen sometimes. We're just accustomed to so many obstacles that we forget how much accomplishments have been made over the years.
Well, yeah, if you consider how long Franklin has been on there, I mean, granted, we had Dr. Kyle in the pilot episode.
Yeah,
and the pilot episode, and then a few episodes into season 1, Franklin comes on board, and he's been there ever since, except when he took his leave of absence in season 3.
Yeah, but that's a little bit, right? I don't know. But yeah,
That was maybe I think it was about the length of maybe a couple of months, give or take. I can't remember honestly.
Yeah,
And yeah, but for him to have survived everything that he has survived, and now he's in the position that he's in, it does speak to Franklin's skill and his personality and his ability to get along with the various alien races on the station there. And you know, that's a very powerful testament to Franklin as a character, because we sometimes forget about him. I mean, he's the one character in the entire series that we often, not deliberately, but sometimes we forget about him.
Well, because he's not a frontline fighter, but he's a very vital support. He can do things that some of the other characters can't, but it's also, since he isn't in the thick of a thing, because Babylon 5 has been primarily a story about, you know, warriors, politicians, and wars. So, you know, sometimes doctors don't quite fit into the front line when it comes to that kind of mix. So I'm glad characters like Franklin exist.
I mean, if you really look at characters like him, and I don't want to get off on a big tangent here, but this could be something we can discuss at another time. If you look at Franklin and you put him up against characters that were on air at the same time or a little bit before, you know, like Beverly Crusher from TNG or Julian Bashir from Deep Space Nine, Franklin stands, I think, stands shoulder to shoulder with those other two characters, and very strongly. I would even say the holographic Doctor from Voyager. He stands, Franklin stands, I think, and rightfully so, with those characters, because they're all strong, solid characters. I mean, do I think he's nearly as good as the kind of the progenitor of the science sci-fi Doctor, that being, of course, Leonard Bones McCoy? I think McCoy's kind of in a little bit of a league of his own, but at the same time, I think you can include McCoy with those other characters, including Franklin that I mentioned, in a lot of ways.
I think Franklin and Bones, to me, are the best Doctors in sci-fi history. And I'd even put Franklin as my number one, in that we mentioned before, he told Hayek, is I'm willing to die to protect your secret. And he proved that in the beginning, where even with Earth about to be genocided, he refused to help the military build a bioweapon because it went against his principles. He was willing to die to protect the secret of that one Minbari he helped. So Franklin really is the one you could trust here, and is a healer, true healer.
Especially, he did come up with the cure for the Marcab. It's just too late.
Yeah. But the other thing is, some of the older science fiction shows, they were more pulpy in nature, so they had a lot of the main characters more front and center, and even in more active combat roles. Like Franklin, he even made a note of it. Like, granted, I'm stuck in med lab most times, and granted, you know, because like, can somebody tell me what these shadows are? Like, so Franklin even does lampshade his own position.
And when they tell him, they fade away to another scene. But that's totally true. I mean, he in Third Space, I appreciate that, because we got to see him throw a few punches. I think he did a little roundhouse kick.
Yeah, and I think that's the reason why they put him with Marcus during the Mars Rebellion, to get him out of med lab for a while.
Yeah, and I discussed all of this in my the character profile video that I did on Franklin back when I did that a couple of years ago. And, you know, just a small little fun fact, this is actually the 101st entry into that particular playlist.
Oh,
last week we crossed 100 videos since I started covering Babylon 5. This is 101. So,
Hey,
small little
congratulations.
milestone. Small little milestone.
I would like to mention,
Cheers.
with Crusade, Franklin probably would have played an even bigger role in, fixing up the stuff from the Drock plague. If I had to think about it.
Where was Franklin during that? I totally forgot. Was he on Earth?
He got caught on Earth during the plague, so they had to bring him up to the ship, in a isolated chamber so he could take a look at stuff because he's infected.
Mm.
But they managed to defeat the Drock plague because you see him later on in Sleeping in Light. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously.
But he would have played, I think, a big role with the Crusade crew, along with Lockley and a few others.
He would have been great, even like not as a doctor role too, but as more like alien consultant too. Like I would like to see like Franklin in like, let's say, the Ivanova role of the main leads, and not so much of a supporting with Crusades. I think that would have been great. Like we got Crusade season 2.
Yeah, they probably would have, because again, adding him in through the Plague Avenue would have given him a much bigger role, and you probably would have seen him a bit in the Telepath Civil War, considering his ties to Lita and even Jakar and even Lanier. Since Lita and Lanier tried to fix things with the Civil War, I think that's where both of them end up dying, though, from what I remember of the notes.
And greetings to the chat, Drake Tungsten. Drake, good to see you, my bud, and appreciate you stopping in this evening or this afternoon, depending on where you're living. So,
I just popped that video on Franklin you did in the chat. So, guys, when you're done, check it out.
Well, thank you.
No,
that was back. That is a good grief. I can't remember when I did that video. It's been a couple of years at least. I still need to do my remaster on my Ambassador Kosh video, and I need to finally do my video on the Shadows. That was the only character that I didn't do a video on.
Wow, January 9th, 2020.
Jeez, that feels like
and here's a little note from this background. Apparently, Pak Mara claims his people are very special. Chosen of God. They can eat all creatures except seafood.
Whoa!
Well,
sushi? Wow.
They can't eat sushi.
Just now. Think about this. Think about this. And I may have to do some digging on this, but think about what religious group has a similar restriction.
The
Jewish people. They cannot eat certain types of seafood, especially bottom dwellers or bottom feeders, because they're considered unclean.
Same with Islam with the pigs. Pork.
Well, same thing with the Jewish people. They can't eat pork either. It's not kosher.
Mm-hmm.
So that would make sense for the Pak Mara. And I have a feeling, much like Zaha Doom, Pak Mara might have some Jewish linguistic roots.
I wouldn't be surprised because their garb is very it looks very religious, similar to like monks. Yeah, some very very religious. And if they are in their faith regarded chosen by God, that's definitely going to probably influence their diet big time.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So no mariscos for them.
No shrimp, no lobster, no crab, none of that yummy, delicious stuff. The rest of us, godless.
Fish sticks.
No fish. Well, it depends on what type of fish. I'm sure there's kosher fish sticks.
Kosher fish sticks.
This episode makes me think of one other thing. Like, why did they create like an interstellar alliance of telepaths across not just humanity, but across everybody else that has telepaths too?
Wouldn't surprise me if they did.
But I wonder why they didn't think to try that. Because Byron seems to have blinders on, especially once Bester gets re-involved. I'm like, oh Lord.
Can I just say how much I detest the character of Alfred Bester? He's somebody that you just want to thunder punch in the throat,
that makes it for a very effective
or somewhere south of the waistline.
Accidental spacing.
That works
Oh
too.
God! Oh, can't we just shoot him
I
just a
thought this
little?
button opened the door on this side, not over. Oh, my bad, guys. Oh, there goes Bester.
I'm sorry.
Ivanova had all the best Bester plans. She really did. But let's just wound him a little, and then Franklin's like, you know what? Maybe you have the right idea. After he, oh God. When you have even Dr. Franklin agreeing to like, yes, maybe we should wound the guy a little.
Screw wounding. I say screw wounding. I say outright.
Don't worry,
Oh,
he gets staked in the end.
Yes, I know, but at the same time, that's not good enough.
It's not good enough when you're rewatching still. It's like, but when you're done, it's good.
If I had my way, I go medieval on his ass, to quote Marcellus Wallace from Pulp Fiction. I mean, I would go medieval on him. I'm talking draw and quarter. Okay, first rip out his entrails, cut off his junk, cut off his arms and hands, and then cauterize the wounds, draw and quarter him, behead him, and stick his head on London Bridge. Or
Gotta
just
make
stick
sure
it on
that vampire don't come back.
or just stick it on a pike and stick it on the bow of a ship. Who's that? Oh yeah, that's the one guy that used to be the head of Psychor, and well, somebody went medieval on his ass. They broadcasted on ISN. Ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who absolutely positively hate this piece of human garbage, we give you the death of Alfred Bester.
What's the one? He says, Your Honor, he headbutted my boot 472 times.
But in a way, the way they closed it out in the Psychor trilogy with how Bester just fades, Bester wanted to be known. He wanted to be out in the open as like this second coming of telepath kind of stuff. But in the end, it's his actual real civilian identity that gets immortalized as the child of the two people who rose up with the initial telepath civil war. You know, it's like, ooh, well then. Mr. Bester won't be really remembered.
Not really. And to the chat, Jeff B is good to see you, bud. Appreciate you stopping by this evening, I keep saying this evening. Of course, it's getting kind of dark out here. This afternoon, I think this particular drop kind of summarizes how we feel about Mr. Alfred Bester, and almost a little bit about how we initially felt about how the Hayek treated their counterparts. So just for a few minutes, let's have a laugh at their expense.
I like the Bean part.
You get to see some secrets of the soul of the Vorlons too, where it's just like, wow, for a really advanced race, you guys are kind of archaic in certain ways, where it's like, so you don't want to give free will to certain people. You just want to create the weapon and then use it on your ideological enemy. Got it.
Mm-hmm. That was like a Drazi baby we saw.
Well, they had all sorts of people.
Then they had a Centauri boy, because the boy had the tentacles, the quote quote penis, and
oh yeah.
Next one was like not a Markab.
Man,
no, it wasn't a Markab. It was something else. Might have been a Narn, maybe.
No,
or a Brakiri, maybe.
Brakiri, there you go. I think it's Brakiri.
Man, one thing though, I feel really bad for Zach. He tried everything he could to be like, "Hey, Lita, I really like you. Can we take the relationship to a different level?" And then it's just like, there in comes Byron to swoop in and get Lita.
Byron is a good example, warning not to hold back, because he opened up and then he retracted out of fear. That's kind of on him.
That, and he basically, I think it was in the one movie where Third Space, where he's giving everything away in the elevator, the cursed elevators of Babylon 5, and Lita's already on the influence of something else and doesn't hear a darn word. Dang,
Oh,
that's
the
some
only
luck.
elevators
Well, I
work for
mean-
Lockley though. No one else.
Well, and
Oh
can
yeah,
I just
everybody else
say-
has really bad luck in elevators.
Except Lockley,
Can-
she's always owning it and having revelations. Sorry.
You know, I'm gonna say this about the writing for Zach in this episode. It seemed I might be wrong. If y'all disagree with me, that's okay. But Zach seemed a little more aggressive and a little more antagonistic than he normally is in an episode, and he just seemed a little bit more over the border of what he normally is. Or is it just me?
No, I
Well,
think
yeah,
you're
because he
right.
likes Lita. He really
It was-
likes her. You know.
I think they came from jealousy too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because he's kind of seeing the writing on the wall like Lanier did with Delenn and Sheridan. And he's like,
Yeah.
"Ah,
Exactly.
But he's also not wrong about Byron. Byron is dangerous, and I think that's just amplifies his
Yeah.
jealousy. He lost
Yep.
Lita
Yeah.
to a creeper.
and then Byron does have the fatal martyr complex too, as you'll see when his whole thing
Yep.
plays out later.
I can't get what I want, so it must end now. And you
It
all
must
must-
end with
It must
me.
end-
Ugh.
Remember
must end it-
Byron.
It must end in fire.
Ugh.
Well, it's kind of
I-
like what it's kind of like when the Centaurian Verturhan asks Kosh, "How will this end?" and Kosh says to him, "In fire."
Mhm.
I've a
No more
funny-
prophetic word has ever been said. Go ahead, Lacey. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
I was just
Especially
thinking that
with him.
it's something that popped into my mind. The telepaths and mundanes are on a track for conflict, and what they probably needed was Jakar.
Oh,
Where he kind of
yeah.
he turned around the to break the cycle of violence between the Narn and the Centauri, which I see as like mundanes and telepaths. He said someone just has to say stop, and the Narns turned away from. Somewhat, we do see something. They do get some semblance of revenge
Put your face
later
into
this
the
season.
book.
But I think Jakar could have done something for that situation, just making them both realize now you can't hold that grudge. That Byron clearly is out of his depth. He is just as bigoted and I think nasty as Bester. He just has better packaging.
Yeah, that and he can't seem to escape the shadow Bester placed over him.
In a way, that is correct. They need some kind of leader like Jakar now, but Byron, he's kind of like Jakar season 1, or actually, in a way, he's obviously more peaceful. But it's just whenever he's angry, he goes to such dramatic lengths. That's very
Yeah,
damaging.
I agree. Well, and and I think you'll hit upon a very valid point. What the telepaths needed was a emissary that could go between both sides. Now, Lita could have been that, but unfortunately, she got too wrapped up with Byron.
Yeah, that's Byron's
And
fault. in my opinion.
I think honestly, if she hadn't got so wrapped up with Byron, like, oh, you're just so dreamy. I know it's a little more than I'm being. I'm using a little hyperbole here.
Hey, we all get lonely.
Clearly, and they seem to cure that loneliness all at once in a very, I don't want to say
Well, I mean,
gratuitous.
Even Lita
Fashion.
mentions that Byron, actually said please, thank you, and treated her as like a normal person. Like he didn't
Yeah.
treat her with like the gloves on or anything like Psychor would. And I
just
think that's part of
agree.
the reason why he had a group of people around him, for good or ill.
Mhm.
Yeah.
No, I think
I
he's a
think-
bit different. I think he's passive aggressive, and
Yeah.
I think that speaks to a lot of insecurities of other people usually, because he did say please and all this, but before he did put a aggressive example, and it's like sit down, eat, or you like a dog, or whatever he said, and when he slapped the chair around, that was a
Yeah.
little too aggressive.
Good little Lita dog, that sort of thing, to make her
Yeah.
realize that. But the thing is,
I,
the Babylon 5 crew didn't treat her like a dog. They helped her when they could, but her main funding came from the Vorlons until they went belly up. She had, to put it politely, the FU money for a while to
Mhm.
Psychor.
Yeah, they just got too used to keeping her at arm's length. That I think they, without trying, and I don't think they meant to, they did kind of, limit her and kind of take her for granted. With I think if they brought her closer in their circles, they could trust her more, even if she's part of Psycorp.
Well,
But
that again,
that's
like
probably
if
not going to happen.
the Talia Winters actress had stayed and Ivanova had stayed where she's at, that storyline probably would have turned out a lot different. Just saying.
That's true.
Well, and
I think
that's. Go ahead, Elysium. It's all right, bud.
Yeah.
Really, go ahead.
Thanks. Thank you, Master. I think it's to the shame of we see like Delenn, not so much Delenn, but the human characters. I guess Sheridan especially. We look at him as someone of virtue, someone to look up to, but still, he mistrusts telepaths. He mistreats them. I know that he spoke about this in earlier seasons, and all he had to do was, after all Lita did, the least they could have done was paid for her room and left her live her own life. But they wouldn't do that. And they mistreat her. Unintentionally, yes, not with malice. They push her away. They don't trust her. And of course, she's going to go to Byron. I think I mentioned it last week when I was down depressed. Someone like Byron who looks out for you will speak for you and says that we have a better way, a way out of this. Yeah, that's got an allure to it. But out the other side, you can see how dangerous Byron is. He is a supremacist. He believes, even I think more than Bester, himself superior to others. And that is very dangerous, especially with people who are weapons.
Yeah, because if you I honestly, I do truly feel for Lita, because the only person to ever treat her like genuinely decent was Kosh. And he's not even human. But a being that is nearly thousands of years old, who is made of pure energy and thought, showed more humanity and more caring and more genuine sympathy and empathy and compassion to Lita Alexander than her own genetic race, that being us humans. I mean, for Pete's sakes, even the Minbari treated her better.
Yeah, Delenn was the one that she went to pass on that message when the Lita versus the mole stuff happened. Where Talia was going to try to kill her. Who did she contact? Delenn.
Because
Lita liked how she dealt, how Delenn did dealings in the past, because Lita did some dealings for Delenn when she was first on the station. So that's quite an influence to have on somebody that was only on the station for a couple of months and then gets replaced,
And I'm pretty sure Lita would cheat every now and then, just peeking surface thoughts to see if they could trust someone. And Delenn is a very stand-up woman. She's a very straightforward. Yes. She is, who she says she is, and I admire that. I look up to that. I'm inspired by that. And she just knows that's a wholehearted, trustworthy individual. I trust Delenn with my life, shoot.
But now that I'm writing a whole lot of stuff, I can see why they kind of set things up this way, to give like a kind of bigger B plot happening to set up the telepath civil war. So
right.
They had to give some of these characters a nudge in a certain direction, to where it's just like, well, the balloon's gonna go up.
Yeah.
And I like it because a lot of the tragedy and mistakes of the characters is what, works as a good lesson, and of course, great plot device. But these are things we all learn from, because they're all situations and mistakes that, we come across. Granted, obviously not in such dramatic levels as telepathy and all the stuff going on with that, but, just like who we trust, how we go about things, and when our emotions take control of our better judgment. And all that stuff. It's like, it's a great example, because this stuff happens.
From a writing standpoint, you got to kind of have to balance, like, okay, we have to move this plot forward versus not giving any characters like an overall, I'm the idiot ball,
Yeah.
So they have to make like I guess with in Byron's case, they had to give him enough positive traits to where he would gather people around him, and then you, for the sake of the plot, have enough negative traits to where it will come to bite them in the butt. And that's not even just on Byron's end; that's on everybody's end. Because again, they could have sent down everybody. Okay, Byron, you want a homeworld? Let's take you to the old Markov homeworld, and be like, boom, there you go.
Yeah, essentially. And Elise, thank you, Elise, for bringing this fun fact. The Pak'ma'ra they also have a type of drink called, I'm not even going to attempt, which roughly translates to roadkill malt. Humans are advised to avoid sampling at all costs.
Oh boy!
Probably because it has a lot of stuff in it that would make us deathly sick, if not very, very dead.
Roadkill malt. It's like, why? That's 3 different roadkills in a smoothie. Ugh.
Oh boy!
With a shot of brandy.
Oh, can you imagine what it would take to clean that off and pour med lab? Poor Fake Lady crew.
Yes.
Oh no!
5-day-old spoo. Sorry, I had to go there.
Because unfortunately, even at my job, I've had to clean up unfortunate things. Unfortunate. So unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was a janitor once too.
Mainly Jed, just a poor spoo farmer kept his family fed. One day he was shooting at some spoo, and from the ground came a bubbling spoo. Gray gold, that is. Markev gold.
Oh my!
As an aside, the B5 wiki has some really fun stuff going through it. Even just little world building facts, and well worth going through at some stage.
Oh, and thank you for popping those in there, Elysium. So, well, guys, I think we're at a good point and everything. I'm going to give you all a chance to give your final thoughts on the episode, and then we'll wrap up and call it an afternoon/evening for our one friend from across the pond. So,
well, it was the unfortunate case of very misguided snoo. Oh, poor Lita, poor everyone, poor me, poor station. Oh no, the Vorlons did it.
Intimacy and privacy is the best thing, especially if you're a telepath trying to find a place that's far away from other telepaths. Everybody's going to get in there, and I don't know, it's just a little too crazy.
We didn't want to interconnect that way. Oh no.
But yeah, if it's intimate, like in Avatar over in Ewa, Pandora, it's just you two. That's cool. But I see what it means of how Ironheart and Talia said it's so profound, all the walls come down, but it makes sense that everything's spilled. And since they're in close quarters, everyone got to feel, see, and experience that together. So I don't know, maybe
this Marvel memory brought to you by Vorlon. Oh no.
Yeah,
Lord. Yeah, I'm just gonna say this. All the problems going forward were caused because Byron and Lita couldn't keep their pants on. Or stay out of each other, couldn't stay out of each other's heads.
Yeah, that's true.
So
especially when it comes to the Vorlons.
So
the ending was effed up.
So thanks ever so much, Lita, for not being able to. Okay, I'm just gonna say this.
What's wrong with the docking bay?
She wasn't even wearing a blouse underneath that jacket. Good Lord, woman, have some modesty. I mean, she takes off her jacket and there ain't nothing underneath. Well, it's implied that there's nothing on underneath. Obviously, I don't think they were actually both stark. Well, to quote our friends from across the pond, they weren't stark bollocks naked.
No, wait, we have to have a nice cutaway. Oh no, Vorlon memory. Oh no.
Maybe it's humid down below. That's why people go commando.
I doubt it. Well, no, Lita wasn't commando. She wasn't wearing a bra. She wasn't wearing a blouse. She was just jacket. And then, hello, here's the girls. Oh, what are you all putting in the private chat?
Oh, just
Oh,
LOLs and stuff.
Okay, thank you, Elysium. Oh, Lord. Okay. Well, anyways, folks, I want to thank you all for tuning in this afternoon / tonight. I hope you all enjoyed the stream. As always, smash that like button. Share this out with all your friends who are fans of Babylon 5. We will, of course, be back next week with another installment of the Council of Ones. We'll be reviewing the episode Day of the Dead.
Yes,
This should be fun. So,
I love this one. Dia de Muertos in Babylon 5.
Yes. Do want to let you all know there will be no ambassadorial R&D tomorrow evening, but I spend some time with family and friends, gonna celebrate my brother from another mother's birthday, and but I will be going live with another installment of Late Night with the Ambassador tomorrow night at 10 p.m. Central Time. Gonna be talking a little bit about Book of Boba Fett. Gonna be talking about the nominations for the Oscars. We got some very good news for us, those of us who are fans of sci-fi and all sorts of cool pop culture stuff. Some favorite movies of mine and ours that got nominated. Want to discuss that with you all. And then, of course, Sunday night, I will be back with a proper ambassadorial R&D, and we will do a full deep dive discussion into the season finale and the full season of Book of Boba Fett. So, y'all have a great evening. Have a great weekend. We will see you all next time. And until next time, and let's get this right. We've been doing pretty good last few weeks. This is the Council of Ones saying, and 3, 2, 1. Zooty. Zoot. 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 Zoot.
Oh,
Zoot.
P.S. Jakar would have put his eye in there too, if he could. Jakar would have put his eye in there.